This is the Kestrel Country Podcast, where we discuss the people, places, and events all around Kestrel Country. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kestrel Country Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Church. That's one of our co-hosts, Gunner, in the background, a little barking. And I'm joined here, as always, by my lovely wife and co-host, Catherine.
Hello, hello.
As you may notice from the barks in the background, we are coming to you from our living room today.
Nope, dining room.
Dining room. From our house.
There you go.
Gunner is in the background trying to jump in on this podcast. Gunner is our German short-haired pointer.
Got him in October.
Yeah, he's almost 6 months old and full of energy. If you know anything about GSPs,
oh yeah,
he is full of energy. So
we no longer have a living room rug, thanks to Gunner.
Because of Gunner. We'll see if we can get through this podcast with Gunner barking in the background. Anyway, the interview we had was at the office, so yes. No Gunner interruptions there.
If you can make it through the intro, you'll be fine.
Yeah, hopefully you're not afraid of dogs. Anyway, he's just a pup. But, so the interview we've got for you this week is Sisters Cookies.
Oh, yes. And with Valentine's Day right around the corner, it's exactly what you should go out and buy or order online as soon as you hear it.
Yeah. Well, it was a really fun podcast. I mean, it's always fun to talk about cookies. And to talk with the Rosendahls, they're just the best. But I think one of the biggest things that I took away from it was the stories that they had about the people who've had so many connections with their cookies, and really, really touching stories. And so anyway, get your connection, because there's something about taste, there's something about cookies, something local made, that's just really special. Yeah.
It's pretty great. For a number of years there, back when I was doing flowers, Connie and I teamed up to do flowers and cookies, which was always really fun and crazy, delivering a ton on Valentine's.
Yeah.
But no, the stories behind them, and our kids love the cookies. So if you haven't ever, make sure you order some. They have a 2-day ship time, and they are completely worth it.
Oh, yeah. So without further ado, let's get into the interview with Connie and Anna Rosendahl. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes, you're welcome.
Talk about cookies and business and all kinds of stuff.
It's really fun.
Great. We're glad to be here.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So maybe just a quick introduction.
All right.
Who you are.
I'm Connie Rosendahl, and I have 2 daughters that I took to farmers market when they were 7 and 11, young girls, to sell cookies for a couple weeks. But people kept coming to buy cookies, so we are still just making them because they ordered them. We're not out there trying to sell. Actually, people are just buying and we're producing. So now it's been 11 years since we started, and
wow.
Anna's out of college, Sarah's in college, and they're both working with the business. And it's been super fun to work together with them. We named the business after them because they were pretty little and were burning out from doing cookies all the time, all summer long. But now that's Anna's job, and Sarah helps whenever she can when she's not studying.
What's your role, Anna, now?
So I am technically just the manager. So I'm basically there 5 days a week. Kind of just overseeing things, overseeing the other employees there. And I'm working full-time at this point, so it's been really fun to get into it and do more and more of it as the years have gone on, and I just really love it.
What aspect do you enjoy the most about it?
Well, okay, I have to say frosting cookies is probably my most.
I'm amazed that that's still your favorite.
I know.
She's super artsy, so it's rewarding.
Oh, yeah, it just feels very therapeutic, and you just kind of get in a groove, and I would have to say kind of the hands-on work actually is my favorite part of it. I love just making the dough, making the frosting, all that kind of stuff. like doing the more managerial side, any paperwork side is not as much my thing. But I just love like being there, working with everyone else, being with the other ladies and stuff like that. So
and
that's
because
probably my favorite
Anna
part.
is there, I can do more of the office work from home,
Right.
so I don't have to
Oh,
spend as many
wonderful.
hours
Yeah.
at the
Oh,
bakery.
that's great.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great.
So 11 years ago, did you have any idea that it would turn into anything like that? I mean,
If I had any idea,
you might,
Hindsight.
I say I would take off my apron and run away. Oh no. No, we had no idea, and I think that was part of why it was organic. We weren't, unlike everybody else at the market who had intended to be there, wanted to test their product. It's a fabulous place to check products, by the way. Just coming as a child or a teen to see if anybody's really interested in your candy or your cookies or your whatever it is you're doing. So we did not mean to test the market. We did not plan to be there more than 3 weeks. So the fact that it kind of overwhelmed us was a testament to how valuable that process is for those that really do want to find out if anybody's interested. So anyway, yeah, the first couple years we didn't have our own bakery. We just baked from home. That was that was easier. It was still pretty much overcoming us at home having to bake that much, but it wasn't until we began to wholesale and start selling on the coffee shops on Main Street that began to be our search for a kitchen. We've been in the 1912, we were at Bloom, we were in a pizza place until we finally then, about 4 years ago, got our own bakery. Okay. So this has been very slow, and we just have watched where the business is taking us and followed that way, rather than pull down the chart, here's our business model, this is our objectives for the year. And in that way, it's really been what people want. We don't tell them what they want, they tell us, and then that's our job to produce that and make that happen. So that's been a blessing to us.
Yeah.
Has it been the wholesale side that is the main focus on the business?
It is now. Our biggest account is Sacred Heart in Spokane, and that because we sold so much, it's usually about 4,000 cookies a month that we send up there, and it's actually in cookie dough. So we form the individual pucks.
oh, really?
And they do the baking up there.
Oh.
So because that was over the border, the line between states, we became involved in interstate commerce, and then recently had to change from being under the county health department. We're low-risk food. We don't sell meat or shrimp or things like that. So for a number of years, the county health department was sufficient to oversee us because we're low risk. But because we've sold so much in interstate commerce, now the FDA has to take over us, and that's a whole bunch of new technical things for us.
More paperwork?
Yes, a lot more paperwork. Signing off, you can imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does it change anything as far as the baking, anything like that is what you're doing, or is it just
No, it's more
keeping track and
Yeah. We have to check in certain we're considered low risk, but flour and eggs are the two things that the FDA will track. Everything else we don't need to keep track of.
Okay.
But we have to check the temperatures of the freezers each time, a lot more technical kind of support information where we get our things in case there's a product that needs to be recalled and how to go through those changes. So it's all that kind of baggage that the government is particularly good at.
That you weren't expecting back when you were 7 and 11.
Right.
Yes. So, and thankfully, these kind of things have really just developed each year.
Right.
So, the whole concept was overwhelming to me, not even with all the details. So that's good. And this is all the girls have known. They never meant to be a business and never meant to go into that. So they're the ones that are saying this really isn't that big of a deal, and we should switch to this technology, and that will make it smoother. And so they give me more courage than I would have had just on my own.
Yeah,
And,
that's a lot.
I actually thought that I was going to do something else other than cookies when I was in like freshman, sophomore year of college. Because up until that point, I had been just kind of like, this is what we do on the weekends, and like this is the family thing. So like, I'm obviously going to be a part of it. And then freshman year of college, I decided I wanted to maybe start looking towards being a vet. So I kind of did that for a little while, but really just I didn't like any other job that I had done as much as I liked Sisters. And all the aspects of it put together were I just kind of didn't like being away from it that much. And so I really came back to it with kind of like a new perspective, and like, I've tried these other jobs. I didn't like them as much as I like this. Mm-hmm. So I just grew to really appreciate it more as far as the business and the relationships and all that kind of stuff more than I had earlier, because like it was just kind of all I'd ever done, and we were just used to doing it every Saturday. But then as I got older, I just got to appreciate it more. So I definitely wasn't looking towards pushing it further or anything like that. Like I am now, I'm definitely more on the side of.
And part of that liberty for you is because you're not in school anymore.
Right.
She was in school and volleyball, so she was like taking out the trash and very significant.
Yes.
So she didn't really own the business in that sense because she just didn't have the availability. But now that she's out of college, it really depends. She puts the baking sessions together and orders the ingredients and helps work with the staff that we have, and just that's when it really became interesting to her, when she really had the time to get the bigger picture.
Well, and that is, I mean, it's running a whole business. There's all facets.
Right.
So if you are creative, and then you've got to use the math side of your brain and all the different pieces that come together.
Absolutely.
I think there's always a challenge when it's your own business.
Right.
Which keeps you on your toes.
Yes, very much.
Sometimes more than you want to be on your toes, probably.
Right.
And when the girls could see that I wasn't just asking them to be a helper to me, but that I was really deferring to skills that they were bringing to the business, that I myself wasn't able to embrace all of those things, that's when it really changed for them as well.
Yeah, we definitely have a good balance of skills between the three of us, especially the two of us, because Sarah's in college right now and she's super busy. But
what is Sarah's role currently with the bakery? Is she doing kind of what you did back in college?
Well, she still does that kind of thing, helps make sure the freezers are defrosted and that. But now she's taken over our social media.
Oh.
And that's been she's trying to learn to make videos.
I've seen them. They've been great.
So that's put some energy behind her.
Yeah.
And then consequently, we need to up the bar and start getting T-shirts and mugs and various things to go with her giveaways. And so it's all just feeding on each other. And that's
But the support is balancing out then. So it's all not landing on you anymore. So recipe creation, where does that fall in?
that was actually all her, and we've used the same recipes since they were created years ago. I mean, we make a ton of different kinds of cookies, but we're not like coming up with new recipes all the time. The first recipe, the chocolate chip one, was off the back of I think Costco chocolate chip bag or something. And
only with butter.
Yeah.
Yes, but butter's way better.
But her being like the amazing baker she is, she like crafted this perfect cookie recipe based off that recipe, changed a bunch of things about it. And then from that one chocolate chip recipe, we're doing 30 now, 30 kinds of
35
cookies.
different kinds
Wow.
of cookies.
Wow.
So when you first started at the first market, was it just chocolate chip?
Yeah.
For a year and a half.
Oh,
It
wow.
was just chocolate chip.
Year and a
And you
half.
market tested your cookies, because I know you were talking about them having to handle the wear and tear, if that's the right
Our first
verbiage.
week, we took the cookies. It's one thing to have them on a nice summer day on the kitchen counter, but to bake them, freeze them, thaw them, transport them, put them out, and then have the little boy be able to walk down the street and it's still not only intact, but it's still chewy. You know, that was kind of a physics, chemistry kind of thing. So the first week, they just fell apart. And so I told the girls we'd do this for 3 weeks. So between the first and second week, I thought, okay, I need to make some change here because I don't want them to be embarrassed. You know, it's one thing to buy them from little girls, but then to have them just fall in them. You know, customers, oh, it's okay. I wasn't going to put it all in my mouth anyway. Or, you know. So after the third week, when we kept going every week, I just kept, if I added more flour, that gave it more strength, but I needed to pull it out sooner or it was going to be just one big rock hard whatever. So it took me the entire summer just to perfect that one cookie. And people are like, we're ready for oatmeal raisin. And it's like, there's no, if I had to do
done doing this.
all of this.
Yeah.
But by the middle of the second summer, and again, first half of that summer was all chocolate chip, I really began to understand the physics and the chemistry to the cookie. Butter isn't something that you can just take and force it to do something in a recipe. You have to find out what its principles, what its values are, what its characteristics, and then adjust your recipe accordingly. Then it wasn't just, plomp them out. Pretty soon, as we moved into wholesale, we had to actually weigh them. We had to sell them by weight, not by volume. So we ended up having to move into that. So it was a big cookie. I don't know why we started out with big cookies. So they're still really big cookies.
It's a great size.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I wouldn't change it.
Although I do make the kids split them in half. Typically, it's like, okay, eat half.
Yeah.
It's called shareable.
Yeah. And then I get to eat the other.
Yeah,
The parent text.
that's right.
Yeah.
So that was one of my arguments to myself. If I've created now probably 35 kinds of cookies, why do I also have to know how to run QuickBooks and work with the FDA? I mean, none of this was in the works. But again, once those principles came through, then it was not that hard to reconvert into other cookies. Then we added gluten-free for a while, and I really like a seasonal cookie, a pumpkin in the fall and lemon in the spring or summer. So we have those rotating cookies of the month in addition to our classics, in addition to our gluten-frees, and then a few others thrown in there. So
And what's been the best seller?
Chocolate chip, actually.
It just still
yeah.
stays
Still
as
is.
Yeah,
okay.
frosted sugar and snickerdoodle are.
Oh, that
second
frosted
and third.
sugar is a
I
killer.
know.
Oh my word.
No.
Valentine's is coming up, so you
Yes.
have to get the
Yes.
frosted sugar cookies.
I've been spending many hours frosting all the hearts.
All the hearts.
So, yeah.
yeah, I was going to ask if she likes to frost by, February 15th?
Yeah.
If she still feels
I've changed my mind.
if you've decided it's not.
Yeah.
So how many cookies were you making a week when you first started? And how many are you making?
I think we probably started with maybe 5 dozen the first week. And then the last year, we haven't done our numbers for this year, but the last year we were doing 100,000 cookies in that year.
Oh my
By
word.
the time we...
So how much butter
That's a lot of
are you going through?
Too much.
Too much.
Yeah, no, I know we did calculate it at some point, but I don't know
Just
where all
tons
those
and tons of
numbers are.
butter.
Yeah, tons of it.
It's
I mean, think a pound and a half per every batch,
right.
Okay.
And then
which is every
2
batch is
pounds
like
for the
40
frosting.
cookies. So
Yeah.
it's just
So
a
we just
lot.
buy them by the big cases
Yeah.
now because we used to just go to the store and kind of clear out their inventory.
All the butter.
Yeah.
We outgrew that.
All
We're
the butter
tired of it.
wrappers.
Yes. The little sticks.
Oh
so.
man.
Wow. Well, what's this year, or I guess last year, 2020 been like? Were you all out at the market or no?
Well, our 3 major accounts are WSU. They do a huge back to school. They do Valentine's. So the parents can order our cookies through the alumni office. Then we deliver 200 to 300 bags of a dozen cookies each, and they do the distribution to the students. So
Okay.
that's
Which
how
is
we've
ideal.
done that for years. Oh, you know that. So that's our usual pattern. They do the same thing for back to school. So in August, we have probably more than that, probably close to 300 to 350 dozen cookies that go over there. So without them in person, we haven't had that account at all. The fun thing, though, a mom just said, hey, if you can give me a brochure, I'll put it on all the Facebook and all the things for the parents there. So that might be a possibility.
For Valentine's.
For Valentine's. And then we'll just ship or deliver directly this year to avoid that. Our second major one is the hospital in Spokane. So that's about 4,000 cookies a month. But as you know, hospitals have had to clear out their, staff and cancel their electives, and then the COVID, or they would let the patients, or they would feed the patients and the staff, but no visitors. And so they've gone through quite a kind of yo-yo. So they're still not anywhere up to par, but it's inching back that way, so we're thankful.
Yeah.
And then our third major of our triad of accounts is Farmers Market. And they closed the first month, and they didn't let food in the second month. So we've lost 1/3 of that. And then each week it was about half of what we normally do.
So by the end, they were allowing food back in?
By the
Just fewer people?
Yeah, by month 3 out of 6, they let food like us in, and it was month 4 before they let hot food in. So they sort of had to just slowly build it. But even so, people were concerned and weren't out.
Less
And just not
travel.
out,
Yeah, just everything about that. So, but our online sales, as you can imagine, have really increased this year.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Christmas was really good, and we don't know how we're still in business, but people have said of any year they need a cookie.
Oh,
yeah. It's 2020.
Just bring on the cookies.
Yeah. So for online sales, do you ship?
We do.
And do you ship all over the country?
We ship all over the country. And we had to give a little more attention to that this year because with all the volume of all the carriers, we needed to make sure our cookies got there sooner. So now we have bright orange perishable labels to put on. I mean, we're already shipped them within usually 2 days around the country, but we've had to put a little more energy to make sure that happens. We have, the lower 48 is the bulk of ours. We did ship to some servicemen in Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really? That's
They
cool.
said the cookies were good, but I think it's because they didn't have cookies.
Anything might taste
Yes,
good.
I think so.
No.
So how long, what would you typically say is the right shelf life for?
3 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
we had WSU School of Food Science do the testing for us.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And they were happy to do that because it was an opportunity for the students to have a project to do that was
Okay.
not just theory, but actually benefit a local business.
That's
so
really cool.
They gave us a 4-day shelf life, and there wasn't any decay or anything that takes place after that time. It just loses some of its chewiness. And so it's the moisture. We had to work with moisture barriers. We have to work with labeling. So the other thing is shipping logs. That was something that we had to get approved by the health department, and so we submitted that information back to WSU, and they did the shelf life on the dough.
Yeah.
And it came back that it's considered low risk and is shippable, and we have to put a big warning that you're not to eat the dough.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't have to be refrigerated
It
when
does
it
not.
ships.
Right.
Wow.
Well, we ship it frozen,
Okay.
and then it usually
Okay.
within about 2 days, then when you receive it, then it's right ready to make into cookies if you
Oh,
want
fun.
to. Otherwise, you can refreeze it, gift it, put it in the
Just go.
fridge. And because it's all butter, it just acts like butter. So if it's in the fridge, it's still going to be a little bit cold like your butter would be. You just set it out on the counter for a couple hours, and then it's pliable for making either roll-out cookies or just your own chocolate chip cookies or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that how you bake them as well? Do you make the cookie dough ahead of time and freeze it or anything, or is
No, they
you
go
just go
right
right
into
from-
baking.
okay.
Right. And then once they're baked, and we don't like to handle warm cookies for packaging or the chocolate smears or whatever. So within probably an hour, maybe 2 at the most, it's come from the mixer to the team that forms all of them, weighs all of them, into the oven, cool, frozen, packaged, and so that's the process. Now, places like Sacred Heart, we have weighed all of those, formed them in what they call pucks because they look like a hockey puck. They're not really a ball,
Right.
or it wouldn't bake
In the right-
in the right timing. And so we just take up 20-pound boxes, sometimes 40 of those at a time, and then they can pick and choose which ones they want to bake.
Oh, fun.
But and that's been probably, well, being not the business person that I am, or the whatever.
Although here you are 11 years in.
Yes. Actually really enjoying the business now. But the thing that's really has just encouraged me to go on are the reports we get back from Sacred Heart, from Market, how much these cookies meant to them. Even some of our friends, when they're up at Sacred Heart, they say it's just a taste of home to have Sister's cookies up there.
At the rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
So-
be. So rewinding back 11 years or before, what brought you guys to Moscow and when was that?
We came in 1998. My husband was a mailman, and one of his fellow mailmen gave him a Credenda Agenda magazine. And so he started following the teaching here. And so he has health issues, and we thought we need to get west of the Rockies. Because he worked for the Postal Service, we could pick any town anywhere. So it was the church that brought us to this area. So we came in 98, and then it was in 2010 when we actually started doing cookies.
So
And
where were you before?
we're from north central Indiana.
Okay.
My husband's from Iowa, and we met, and we were there for 10 years and then came out here for 22 years.
Wow.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, I can't remember what I was going to say why we did the market. But anyway, so we have 5 children. They're all cookie eaters in varying degrees.
Nobody's gotten sick of eating cookies.
No, nobody should be getting
What
sick.
What about your favorite? So chocolate chip are the best sellers, but what are your favorites?
My personal favorite is the frosted sugar.
It's a hard one to beat.
Yeah.
Sarah's is the oatmeal butterscotch.
Yes.
Oh man.
That's Ida's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like all the new ones.
Because you get to
Yeah.
experiment.
But you do like the triple chocolate oatmeal.
Triple chocolate oatmeal. Monster cookie, which happens to be our cookie of the
Oh,
month
yeah.
now. It's more complex. It's got the oats and the peanut butter and the M&Ms. And
Oh wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like having a delightful breakfast.
It is. You put oatmeal in anything, and you feel like it's healthy.
It's
Well, that's
Or
why-
you could eat it for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I've always said about the snickerdoodle. I feel like it's a good breakfast cookie.
that's 'cause
A little
it's
bit
your
of
dad's
cinnamon,
favorite.
a little bit of egg.
Yeah, like cinnamon toast crunch or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
With
those
coffee?
can sell for
Yeah.
breakfast
I know.
food,
They're really good with coffee. Yeah.
I do.
But
I
I think
actually.
ours at our house, the girls really like frosted.
Well, and
I like the frosted.
Ida likes the butterscotch one too, the oatmeal
Yeah,
butterscotch.
Yeah.
we always get those.
Those
And
ginger
then
snaps.
James is kind of a double chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which fits if you've seen
That-
James.
That makes sense.
But that's one of the highlights of their week.
Oh, it is.
All summer.
They
well,
love
really
it.
all year. My folks bring
I
them,
know.
Yeah.
cookies on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then our girls, one of their favorite Christmas presents this year were their sisters' cookies.
They got
T-shirts.
T-shirts. I think in their stockings.
They got T-shirts, so they're
Yes.
very excited with their
Yeah.
T-shirts.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
They do. They're big fans.
Yeah.
So how many people are involved now?
The staff.
There are 20 of us in varying degrees. There's, of course, the
Okay.
3 sisters. Then we have the bake team, and that's a dozen women that come in on Tuesday mornings. That's one of the things with COVID. We, instead of having several days with fewer staff, we just started stacking up staff. And it's much more fun and vibrant in there. And we had to kind of, you can't have one of your sequence stations hugely efficient if the next one is, So
Okay.
that was, doing the math on that was fun for me to actually, as you double up your crew and are twice as productive, you have to do the calculation of how many you need at each station for this to balance out ultimately at the end. And so that's super fun. We have several that do finance for us. We have one that manages the website. Who else do we have? Somebody that cleans the bakery.
Yeah, they manage. There's one that manages the Rose Hours sales,
Yes,
so they
that's
make
right.
those cookies and deliver them to Rose Hours, and yeah, just a few other girls that kind of like we have some subs that just pop in when we're short on people or whatever. But
So when we get together for Christmas at the end of the year for a Christmas party, then there's 20 of
lot of
us,
people,
even
yeah.
though some of them
Yeah.
didn't even know the other one worked.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They just never run the
Right.
same
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
so-
been the most surprising thing of running the business side of it?
that if you just take a little bit at a time, you can learn it. It's doable. Like I just barely skidded in on the, personal phone era of,
Yes.
I mean, it's a stretch for me, but, and that's one thing I've been very grateful is that the whole thing wasn't dumped on me at once. I mean, the whole concept I didn't even want to start with, but
Right.
then just each year. So as more and more things kind of where I'm actually owning the understanding. It used to be they would do that, and I didn't want to know because that was just too much for me. I'm slowly being able to understand and maybe provide more continuity to all the elements of the business. So when a new concept, hey, what about this as a customer? Then I can see how the ramifications for all these and the implications for all the stations are going to work out and whether that's really going to be a good fit for the cookies. So I have enjoyed that.
Yeah. On a different side of it, I think it's definitely been surprising to see how much people have grown to appreciate or just know like who we are, and like you were saying earlier, some of the stories that we've gotten are just you know, how much these cookies have meant to people, and you think like, really? Like, I mean, like, we're so honored that people have all these stories and stuff from how these cookies bring their family together or whatever. And it's, it is really a big blessing to think, I mean, that we've been able to kind of provide that for people, and just kind of have these cookies to bless people and really like make their day, or, you know, just like a fun, like sweet treat. And that's my favorite part about it, is such a simple thing, a cookie, but like we can really tell that people really appreciate them, and they really kind of value, you know, what they can get and what we provide and all that kind of stuff.
Early on, some of the comments were, wow, this reminds me of my grandmother's cookie. You know, she's from the old country. And we realized immediately it was the butter, that connection that they had. It was before the mid-century, margarine and Crisco.
And all the fake.
Those.
Yes.
But I'll give you an example. There was a gentleman that ordered cookies for somebody in the military, and they were just arriving back in the States at D.C. So we saw they had the same last name. You know, it wasn't any big deal. But then after we sent the cookies, one of the boys said, hey, I just to let you know, my twin brother and I went to U of I. Every Thursday, we would walk from campus over to Rose Hours. We would buy a 4-pack, and we would split it. And we did that all 4 years. Now we've graduated. He went off in the military. I went into business. He's been overseas. He's just come back to the States, and I can't think of anything more I'd want him to gift him with is Sisters Cookies, because that's a culture that we've shared. And we haven't been together in 6 months, and we just wanted you to know that.
Wow.
We're like,
I love it. I love it.
one more, just kind of on a sadder note, there was a gentleman with cancer up at Sacred Heart Hospital, and he had radiation. I'm not sure exactly, but every time he came out of radiation, he was particularly hungry, and so his daughter would go to the dining room and buy the molasses cookies. Now, they rotate all their cookies, so you don't always get molasses every day, just, kind of hit or miss. So she called from Spokane. She said, hey, I want to come down to Moscow 2 hours and pick up a couple dozen of these cookies because they mean so much to my dad. So she came down, met her, visited with her. So she took several dozen of the molasses ginger back. And she said, as the process continued, she said, he often said, it's almost worth it to have radiation when I know I can come out and have 2 molasses ginger cookies. So he passed away, and she said that it was their family's desire that they do Sisters Cookies at the memorial service, because if that brought that much joy to him in the latter days of his life, they wanted to celebrate that at his service. And the stories like that, it's like, how can a cookie mean that much to people? But it's that kept us powering on when we were too nervous or too uncertain about continuing the business. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Well, anything else?
Well, I can think of some more questions if that's what you're wondering. But looking at the time, we probably should wind it down.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
really
it's an
fun
absolute
to hear
pleasure.
about it.
I just love it. And we do. Our family enjoys it. The kids absolutely love it. It's a huge part of their childhood. Now, and you're saying that, so it's hitting me in one sense that, 10 years from now, Lord willing, you're still making cookies.
Right.
But, I think that'll have a huge impact for them. Just like smells bring you back to your
Absolutely.
childhood or your grandma's cookies, So it's a big, huge gift. And,
Yeah,
we're
and it's
thrilled.
that tradition.
right.
Yeah.
Well, where do people, if people want to order them, how do they find you?
Sisterscookiecompany.com, so no caps and no spaces. And they can also, if they're local in Moscow and we're not open, so we do have a bakery on the north end of town. We're open from 1 to 4 Monday through Friday. And if they want cookies and we're not open, you can grab them at Rose Hours.
And your Instagram handle or whatever the proper
What is the
word.
Neither of us are the social media people, so
Search for Sisters
yeah,
Cookies.
Sisters. Yeah,
We'll
Sisters
find it. We can link it in the notes.
Sisters
You can add
Cookies
it.
is definitely in the handle somewhere. But
Just follow the cookie crumbs.
Yes.
And go in there.
There you go.
yeah, we also do have a Facebook page.
And
as
then
well, so.
Valentine's, are you running any deals
We are
or
running several deals, and you need to get on our website
and find those and
Yes.
order
Yeah.
early before you're
Order
sold
early.
out?
Definitely.
And there's a place called Notes on there where you can say when you want it delivered or love mom and dad or whatever you want to help make sure that we can get it to whoever, whenever, and otherwise it'll default to just them receiving it on Valentine's Day. So
Okay. Perfect.
anyway, well, thanks
Well,
for doing
thank you
this
so
for the
much for
community.
coming.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm glad you guys could.
All the best to Kestrel. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see ya.
Thanks for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week.